Take a long time, dude.
Yeah, those YouTube subscribers are definitely tougher than Instagram subscribers.
Tell me about it, dude. Oh my god. All right,
How did you
thanks.
how did you start building your channel?
How did I start my channel?
Yeah, like what was the catalyst for you? Well, let me introduce you first. I'm already recording, so
Oh, you're
everyone,
introduced.
yeah. Welcome to the Real Estate Unboxed podcast. We have a very special guest here today. It's a guy that I was blessed to meet at the mastermind, Kent. This guy is freaking amazing. He's going to change the world. He's already in the process, already made a huge impact. And I'm looking forward to being a part of his journey and making some impact as well. I think he has some great insights to share today just about his journey. You all know why we're here to learn about real estate, how different people get in, how there's different lanes for everybody. And I think Kent's is super exciting. I'm super glad to have you on here today, bro. Welcome.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm excited to be on this, man. Thank you so much for having me on, Olu. I really appreciate it, man. It's a blessing, and I just remember meeting you and talking to you and your partner, and I was just like, wow, this is just someone I got to know better on a much deeper level, because I think there were just so many things that we connected on from a childhood, from a background to how we got into started into real estate and the struggles that we go through, right? So I think those are just such great stories for us to kind of dive into today. And I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, bro, me too. It's gonna be great. I'm super excited to hear more about your journey and let everyone else hear some of the amazing stuff that I was able to hear and get an idea for where you're headed, that vision. Oh man. So Kent, bro, tell us who you are, where you from, man, what you got going on, brother. What's going on, dog?
All right. Let's start. I was originally born and raised in Boston, Massachusetts. I moved to Southern California about 4 years ago, and I currently reside in San Diego right now. And my background and my history is like I probably started working really young, but I think my most memorable career was working as an EMT, answering 911 calls from senior year of high school all the way through college and all through my first year working full time as a management consultant, where I really helped billion-dollar companies buy other
Mm,
billion-dollar companies and integrate them as to one company. So, when you buy another company, how do you actually bring them in as one company? How do you operate together as one company?
mm,
And where do you realize those synergies? So that was kind of like my big first foray into corporate America. I then left that job because I wanted to start a bakery. But my cousin that was backing me for the bakery, he had some cash flow issues with his new restaurant, where they were losing about $20,000 to $30,000 a month. I never ran a restaurant before, but I knew I had to help my cousin out. So I went in there, turned it around, got it back to break even, and then we sold it off for break even. And I still have a ton of liquidity tied up at that restaurant at that point in time. So I decided to go back into corporate America to build my liquidity back up so I can have some extra cash on hand to decide to pick another path if I wanted to. So I went to work at a Fortune 100 insurance company where I worked there for about 5 years. And pretty much, if I had to say, like, I led like two big projects. One of them was helping them clean up a lot of data issues. And eventually, what I did was I enabled their clean data to allow them to calculate how much a customer is worth and what the lifetime value of a lead might be. You might have heard all these buzzwords of machine learning and AI and stuff like that. That's basically what I was working at. And I basically helped them 10x their revenue in about 4 years after building a technology team there to support the agency's growth. Now, the last thing I did there was helping them develop an application that uses computer vision technology to basically get insurance quote with just taking pictures of an odometer. So that was really, really cool. Something I was really, really excited about launching with them in a few countries. But long story short, I started investing in real estate while I was still working full time as sort of a side gig. I learned a lot about short term rentals, but I knew my goal was always to diversify my portfolio with a blend of short term rentals, because then you have high cash flow, a little bit higher risk, but then you also have lower cash flow with our long-term rentals, specifically around affordable housing. And affordable housing, you might have heard them as Section 8, but there's tons of other affordable housing programs out there, all with different names, all with different agencies. And at the end of the day, I just define affordable housing as not paying more than 30 to 40% of your monthly income towards your rent and your living expenses. So that's kind of like my quick and dirty life story all in a nutshell. But yeah, that's kind of me, man. That's where I am right now.
That's amazing, bro. I love your journey, man. So one thing that really stuck out to me, bro, you were an EMT phone rep for I don't know how long, 5 years, you said, from the senior year of high school all the way through college.
Oh
How was
yeah,
that?
I
Bro,
wasn't
that
just
was
on
a
the
long time.
phone. I was answering the calls. Like I was in the field, like driving the ambulance and everything, and doing it. And
Wow.
I think that was a very humbling job position where you got to see a lot of things, and it made you appreciate life a lot more. To be honest with you, there's no better way to describe it except I felt like there were days where I was really, really important. And it taught
Mhm.
me how to be calm, even in the most dire of situations, because someone has called for help and you are now walking through the front doors and you are the help that they called for. I think that with that comes big responsibility. And it gave me a different perspective on life. It made me value life a lot more. Um, but most importantly, if I were to relate it to real estate, is that a lot of people have a lot of fear when it comes to real estate. And I had to constantly remind myself of all the hard things that I've done to get me to this point. And I think that's what allowed me. And I think I told you the story too in person. I was nauseous, throwing up the day I signed the contract to buy my first property in Scottsdale, Arizona. Super, super scared. But I had to constantly remind myself, like, hey, remember, you've done a lot of hard things in your life. And
Yeah.
that's the reason I want to share the story with folks because answering 911 calls, that's no joke. I've done CPR before. I've had people pass away on me before in my arms. And those are the really hard things that you had to endure. And that might be more traumatic than anybody else that I might know. I think a lot of people have different hardships. For me, that those were some of the hardest memories I had in my life. But I carried them forward. I use it as a motivator and I use it as evidence of my ability to take on and do hard things. And that's kind of why I decided to get into real estate. That's why I had the courage to tackle and challenge this affordable housing problem because everyone tells me it's so hard. But I'm like, I think we can do it as long as I find the right people to do this with. And that's why it really attracted me to have the conversation with you, Olu. It's like we do hard things, we've been through hard things, but we still got to the other side of that equation and we're still doing it. Right? There's no it's so fun to deal with other people. This
It is,
business is
bro.
beautiful,
And
man.
no, it seriously is, man. And the impact you've already made is incredible. I was having a conversation the other day with one of my mentees about doing hard things and about how
Mm.
it creates just this immense level of discipline. And I wish I would have done more hard things when I was younger because I realize now how much those hard things in the past have created
Mm.
discipline, have let me know, hey, this is tough. Like this is hard right now. This is what hard feels like. And knowing how to get past it. So, bro, like, could you tell me more about how you were able to transition your skill set and being an EMT and also running a Fortune 100 company and integrating other businesses into that? How did that even transfer, bro? That is like mind blowing.
Well, yeah, it started with the interview, right? So when you were an EMT and all my friends were all like, why are you taking this is a senior year of high school, right? I'm taking EMT classes on Tuesday, Thursday nights and Saturday mornings. Like, why are you doing this? And I remember, and this is an excuse I think back then. I always wanted to be a doctor, but I never wanted to put my family through that medical school debt, right? So I thought like, hey, I don't. It's going to take me forever to climb out of this. Like, let me go help people my own way, and this was the easiest way and shortest path to kind of helping others. But that position, unbeknownst to me, helped me have so many cool stories to bring up to folks as I was interviewing for jobs. I could bring up like, "Hey, I can be calm in any situation." I can lead a team of people older than me, right? Because I have firefighters, I have
Mm,
police officers on the scene with me, and I had the confidence to do it. And I think that provided such a great story, and it really helped me stand out amongst thousands, if not like tens of thousands of applicants for these job positions in corporate America. And
mm,
I think that's how I made that transition, is being able to tell the story of how I've done hard things, because no one can deny what you have done in your past life. Doesn't matter what kind of classes, what major you were in college. People care about who you are as a person. And that's how, when I was building out my team in corporate America, I look for the people with grit. You can't teach grit. I think you can try to observe it and mirror it, but I don't think you can teach it. But
mm,
the people that have had a track record of doing hard things, those are the people that I want to work with at the end of the day. And I think that's how I made the transition to it, because at the end of the day, when I was integrating one company with another, sometimes there's a lot of culture clash, right? One company has been doing things a certain way, another has been doing another way.
yeah.
How do you really bring them together? And, some of the positions that we're doing were things like, you know, sitting aside people that were about to lose their jobs. And I think those are some of the saddest things that I've had to do in corporate America. But I knew it was something that I didn't want to do long term. But I learned a lot, again, doing hard things in my consulting career, where I learned how to not run a business. I saw how sometimes corporations might be so set in stone on meeting the quarterly numbers that they lose sight of what the future goal is, what the path is that they really should be pursuing, and a long-term benefit. So I vow to myself, like, hey, when I ever start my own business, or whenever I go into my next business, whoever I'm helping, I want to make sure I bring those perspectives to light and
Mm,
teach them that you got to pay attention to the long-term repercussions of your decision and invest in the long term, which means doing the hard things, solving problems. And that's why I did a big data cleanup project. No one ever wants to do that stuff, because a lot of bad data out there is just garbage, but it takes a lot of work to clean up the data and also to run a business at the same time. Because think about it, right? You need all the data to issue your payroll, pay out your sales
yeah.
reps, right? Those things have to keep going even as you're doing it. So imagine having to run two parallel systems, trying to stay on top of everything before you do like a cutover. That sounds daunting to most people, but I lost a lot of sleep doing it, but I did it. And now I have another evidence of something to bring forward. Like, wow, I did a big data cleanup project before that no one ever really would ever take on such a project, because they're not incentivized enough. Most people just like, oh, they don't pay me enough to do this. That's not worth it. Or this project is so hard, it's not worth the effort. Most people can still get paid, but kicking the problem further down the road. And I think that's the problem
Mm,
with sometimes the people I meet in corporate America. And not to say anything bad, but sometimes it's just hard. It's hard to stay motivated 100% of the time.
no, 100%, bro. It can be tough to stay motivated, bro. But there's two big things that you really shared in there that I really want to emphasize to everyone. The first one was you told a story. So you had already did the hard things. You had already dedicated yourself and did what it took to become a great EMT, to actually help people in that field and to save lives, to be there for people when they're in a tough spot. But what you did after that, in order to show your value to other people, show how I can provide value to others, you told a story in order to get into the room. I think telling stories is literally one of the most important pieces of getting to higher levels. And I think that's one thing that you do like extremely well, bro, is telling stories. And telling your own story. These aren't just like made up stories. These are like real life situations and stories that happen for you. The other thing that I want to emphasize to everyone watching right now is what you did once you got into this new role. After you told the story, showed them, hey, how I can provide value to you guys. You not only played full out, bro, but you took the extra mile. You added way more value than you took in payment. So you were there for one reason, but correct me if I'm wrong, bro, but you literally just said you took on the project no one else wanted to do and added so much more value that paid you off way down the line. Like, how did you even see something like that? Can you tell more about your thought process there? Was that intentional? Like, wow, bro.
The thought process behind it. I think I was probably motivated by someone telling me that it could not have been done. I think that's it.
Mm,
Like when someone tells me it can't be done, I'm like, oh, what? No, get out of here. Anything, in my opinion, anything is possible. It's about how much work, how much planning, and whether you have the right team around. And I'm so
right.
blessed that I worked with like a team of such amazing individuals where when you are able to lay out the vision and rally everybody, right? I think that is another intangible skill set about leading people, inspiring folks, and helping them understand what do you see in the problem that's being solved and communicating that clearly. I think these are all undervalued kind of skill sets that everybody needs to work on. I think it's more like sometimes when people are just, I don't know if you ever have conversations with people are just trying to articulate a problem, but they say, oh, blah, 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 but then, like that, like, you got to be able to articulate the problem and get to the point really fast because then people know one, you're respecting their time, but then two, you've actually put thought into it yourself. So you're actually contributing to the solution. Um, and I think that's all the things that are so important to articulating and doing the right planning around it. And I've carried that forward into real estate where if you just, I don't know, spend like an extra 10 or 15 minutes to gain that edge. Like I think Kobe Bryant talks about this where he practices a little bit extra every single day, right? It's all about getting that edge. How do you differentiate yourself amongst other people? If you just take extra 10 or 15 minutes doing whatever you're about to do every single day, that will help you put so much more thought, so much more clarity, and so much more structure around solving the problem. And when you create that structure on how you solve the problem, people gravitate towards it because they actually know what's about to happen. And I think people lose sight of that where people sometimes just go on in conversations and they just talk, right? I hate meetings where people just talk and nothing kind of comes out of it. It's like one of the worst things that you can ever be a part of. I don't know you ever experienced that, but you gotta have action items coming out of everything. And I'm sorry, this is kind of going on a tangent a little bit, but this is all the basic fundamental skill sets like that I wanted people to have. Nowhere in here did I talk about medical training to become an EMT. Nowhere in here did I talk about accounting experience or financial experience at all, or technical experience, even if you're doing data work. It's not about that. It's about if you have the skill set that you're able to organize a team around it, that is a much more valuable skill set because you can kind of be the general on the battlefield and see where all the pieces need to be and see where they all need to go to achieve that mission. And I think that if people had to work on something, is working on your communications, working on how to plan and structure your work, because that will allow you to attract way more people. And we all need a huge team to do this. You cannot do anything alone.
Boom. Wow, bro. I'm extremely glad that you shared that because this podcast is here for a couple of reasons. The first reason is to show people who aren't in real estate or people who have a
Mm-hmm.
desire in real estate how they can get in. A lot of those people are in W-2 jobs right now and they're wondering like, should I just quit my job? Should I just stop? Should I just, dump all the way in without, having intangible skill sets to bring to the table? Or they forget the skill sets that they have to bring to the table. And I think what you gave is actually like a tangible action plan, things people can actually do in order to translate their skill set to real estate, to provide value in the industry. It's literally there's value you can gain. You can do those things, organizing teams, becoming a better leader, learning how to communicate in any role. And it translates immensely well to real estate. I bet like you being an EMT and dealing with people who are like in panic mode helped a ton with talking to sellers or talking to lenders or dealing with a tenant who might be angry. Man, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure that like translated super well.
Absolutely. People yell at you all the time as an EMT. Sometimes you show up, you think you're there to help, but they're like, what are you doing? Get out of here. I didn't want you, blah, blah, blah. Oh my God. It's like stories and stories and stories. But again, it helps you put into perspective of why you need to be direct with people. I hate when people burn time and waste time. Another thing that you can work on right now is like, are you someone that is worth someone's time? When you get on a call with them, are you providing value to them right away so that they will never say, like, oh, I don't want to get another call with Kent. Like last
Mm,
time I was on a call with him, I got nothing out of it, or it just went on and on and on about nothing. And that's a
mm,
reputation you got to start working on right now. Because right, you and I know one of the biggest or hardest skills to work on now in real estate is actually raising private capital. Raising private capital is based on your reputation. They got to know and like and trust you. If they know that they're getting on a call with you and you're not going to make it worth their time, they're not going to get on a call with you again. Right. And I think I have so many friends now from my corporate life that still are friends with me today because they know my reputation. I never went in there and said, hey, I'm in corporate America, I'm just going to cruise. I went in there, I did my job, I did it better than most of other people, and I got promoted a lot faster. It doesn't matter. But they knew that from their time spent with me, it was worth it. They don't remember what meeting we had a year ago and what we talked about. No way. No way.
They
They do
remember how
remember
you
that it
made
was
them
worth
feel,
my
though.
time. Exactly. Right. Oh, you and I know this. Like, I probably don't know exactly what conversations I've had with you, but I knew that we connected and I knew that we were both sincere, good human beings. So that's why I agreed to come onto this podcast with you, because I knew this relationship was worth it. And I think those are things that people can work on every single day. Starting now, even if all your past conversations were crap, you can still work on that now and be like, hey, let me go on this call. Let me plan out what I'm going to talk with you and let me lead with value. Just like when I got on the phone with you, I wanted to lay it all out on the table, tell you everything I knew that was going to be the most impactful for your career so I can help you make money. Because at the end of the day, you and I both know our goal is to help thousands, if not millions of families with affordable housing. And that is something that is undeniable. Like, I love this stuff and I want to help so many people. And that's what I realized. We're both in the sub-2 mentorship. But one of the quotes that really attracted me to Pace was when he said this phrase. He said, I am addicted to helping people. And that's when I realized, like, wow, that is me. Like, all my careers of being an EMT, why I'm trying to do affordable housing, why did I go help out my cousin when his restaurant was falling down? I'm addicted to helping people. That is the ultimate dopamine hit. Because you and I both came from low-income housing, and we always thought, well, I always think, like, when the next time I put a family in a low-income family in affordable housing, single-family home, I envision picturing helping my mom, because my mom got that affordable housing project. So it's not about helping the world. When you're trying to help thousands and thousands of people, you got to narrow it down. Just like when you're speaking on stage, you're trying to speak to one person. When you're trying to help thousands of people, you're trying to help one person, and you're trying to envision who that person is. And I think that's what really drew me to you, is like, we came from similar backgrounds and we all have this burning desire to help people. And I think those make for the best friendships in the world, dude.
No, 100%, man. They really do. Because when you guys have that similar goal of like adding value to other people, and you're visioning similar people or people who might be standing next to each other, you can make that impact together. And I think that visualization piece is huge. With any of your goals that you have, whoever's watching this, using that visualization piece to see the impact down the line of you achieving your goals, much more powerful than you just envisioning yourself, you know, driving a Corvette or sitting in an apartment building that you own, or your business doing well, and you just visualizing that. What Ken is saying is powerful. Visualize one person that would feel the impact of you achieving your goals and making that difference. It's going to help you see the path to get there a lot clearer. It's going to help you identify the task and the who that you need to connect with, not just the how. So, bro, real quick, I want to give some people some ways that they can dive in, bro. Was your first real estate deal, was it an assisted living? Like, could you tell us about that?
No,
And I'm also curious,
yeah.
how did relationships and storytelling play into that too?
Yeah, so my first deal was a short-term rental in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I bought this home for $800,000. It's a 4-bed, 2.5-bath, single-family home, about 2,500 square feet. And it was a property that was on the market. I know sometimes a lot of people brag about off-market deals. Nothing to brag about here. It was on the market. We took a 15% second home, vacation home loan on the property. And what we then did was we renovated it. We also, we loved the city of Scottsdale. So we thought, like, hey, this could be a good second home for us to kind of vacation and stay at, just because it's also very, very warm weather. But we also knew it could become a short-term rental. So what we then did was we spent about $126,000 on renovating the property and furnishing it. We also took out a credit line so that we can use it to furnish the property. But at the end of the day, after about 6 months, we got the property reappraised for 1.15 million. So an increase of $350,000 in equity from the time we closed it in August of 2021. So that was an amazing day, man, when we got that appraisal back, because we knew that we're going to get back out about $250,000, so $246,000 to be exact. So we got back all of our money. My partner, who's been one of my best friends since 8th grade, got all his money. I told him to go into his bank account, transfer the money back to himself, and get that dopamine hit. You know what I'm saying? But that was also the day I calculated his net worth and my net worth, and that was the day we became millionaires. What a day, bro. What a day to come from low income housing with both my one of my best friends and I to become millions on the same day. All because he believed in me, and I'm so humbled that, you know, sometimes friends just talk about starting businesses, but then there are friends that actually do start the businesses. And there are friends that believe in you. And it was so cool, man. It was one of the coolest days. Like, I FaceTimed in. We had a shot that night over FaceTime. I wasn't even drinking during COVID. I cut out all liquor, but I was like, you know what? Today's the day we should do something. But that was really cool, man. But that was my first property. But let me drop some gems for your audience right here, because I want to get them to get the most value. We turned this home into a bachelorette themed home. And this home last year grossed $168,000 in rent and gross revenue from one house. And it was cash flowing like $5,000-$6,000 a month. Like, it absolutely changed my life. Especially that's what allowed me to kind of leave my job, because there was enough money coming in to help pay for the bills. Even though when I left my job, I'm making less money than I used to make, but I knew this was my passion. And it's very important for people to realize what your passion is and how convicted, like what your level of conviction is to that mission. Like, for me, it's affordable housing. But for me, how I was able to raise money was I was able to tell folks like, hey, please invest with me in short-term rentals, but will you also invest with me on affordable housing? Mm-hmm. They're like, sure, just make it sustainable, which is absolutely reasonable, right? So you got to have some high cash flow from your short-term rentals to fund your lower cash flow, but safer returns, because the government does pay their rent on time every single month, no matter what, even during COVID. So it's a perfect blend of risk when you think about from a portfolio management perspective. But that's how I would raise money. And thank God my friend believed in me. So thank God the first property was a home run, because I was so scared, just like I was telling you. I was nauseous and throwing up, but we decided on a bachelorette theme based off of data. Okay. I think for your audience members out there right now that might be in a stage of analysis paralysis, like, oh, what if this goes down south? What if blah, 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 blah. You can use data to figure out exactly how you should theme out your property and what your guest avatar, whatever you want to call it, your target customer is in that area. So one way your guest and your audience that might be listening to this is you can go into big data platforms like pricelabs.co, and you can order a market dashboard. And for whatever property that you guys are thinking about buying, just, you know what, for audience members today, just look in your local neighborhood, right? Look up an address of a vacation home that's really close to you. Take that address, go to pricelabs.co, go to the market dashboard, and plug in your address. Okay. Plug in your address and then get a radius, and then sort it by revenue, download all the properties to date. And then right away, you're going to see what your top performing properties are making in that market. And then what I do is do a 20% rule, meaning if you see a property with a gross annual revenue of about $100,000, and only look for properties with 15 reviews or higher, so you know it's good data, I would multiply that by 5, meaning if all the properties around me are making $100,000, do I see any other properties around myself that's priced less than $500,000? So 100,000 times 5 equals $500,000. And right then and there, you can figure out, hey, is this a market I can make money in, or is it not? You have to go through these steps so that you can rule out properties that you want to buy or don't want to buy. Now, if it does, then maybe you go a little bit deeper. Now you can look into every single listing of these properties and start segregating them out into, okay, here's all my 4 bedrooms in this neighborhood. Or in other vacation markets, for a beach market, you're going to want to look at What's my distance from the beach? Is this a beachfront property? Are these 5 minutes from the beach, or are these 10 minutes from the beach? If you're in a downtown metropolis market, what's your distance away from downtown? If you're in a vacation market near a national park, what's your distance away from the national park entrance? And then afterwards, you have all these comps that are separated into each different category. So you know exactly how to comp these properties and get the right gross revenue amounts. Then what you do is actually go into each listing, you click on the reviews, and you look up a couple of keywords. You can look up how many times is the word family or fam mentioned. You can look up how many times the word bachelorette or batch is mentioned. You can look up how many times the word location is mentioned, because usually when people say the word location in review, it has a positive correlation. And now what do you have? You have all your properties in a market that are separated by different neighborhoods, but then you also know who are the guests that are actually visiting that market that are driving the revenue for some of these top performers in the market. So that's how we did it in Scottsdale. We looked at the top 200 listings in Scottsdale. The number of times the word bachelorette or girls was mentioned was 1,200 times. The number of times that the word family was mentioned 1,000 times. I'm sorry, it was the other way around. But that means basically 40% of the guests that were driving in the revenue were bachelorettes. So that's how we decided to do the bachelorette theme. And then you use the word location, and you can find out like, okay, where my top performers are. They're within the 7 to 10 minute driving radius of O-Town. So now, even if you never lived in Scottsdale, you now have representative and proof that, one, there's a lot of bachelorettes going to that location, not just because your wife or your best friend told you there was a lot of bachelorette groups there. You actually had data around it. And now you actually had the word location mentioned. So now you know exactly what the radius is that you should be buying in. So there's no excuses for buying the wrong places. It's literally right in front of your face. You just got to look for it. And that's how I got over my own analysis paralysis phase of analyzing the properties, or don't know how to analyze the properties, but I had to get over my hump, get over my fear. So I had to look for proof to override my fears. And I think that's someone thing anybody can do today. Even if you just go plug in your address right now, go do it. Because then that makes you 1% better, because now you know one market more than you did before, and you know what market to buy or not to buy in. Just by doing that today, just by listening to this. Go do it now, because then that is going to make you better. Stop even thinking about it. Go do
it. Bro, you are in here dropping so many gems, dog. Like, I really appreciate you, man. Yo, I really hope everyone is taking notes on what Ken is saying, because, man, there was like a million gems he dropped in there that I really want to spend the time into all of them, but I know we don't have time for that. My guy got to get to the zoo. All right. So one thing, though, that I really want to highlight, this guy, again, I want to, my mind is blown right now, bro. He spent a lot of time organizing data for billion-dollar companies, Fortune 100 companies. So if Ken is here telling us that the way he's able to make $5,000 a month, 100 grand plus a year on these Airbnbs, right? Make 250K on a refi for a property. The underlying theme here is that he's doing it with data. He's making his decisions based on actual information, actual stuff. It's not fairy dust, right? This is actual data that's there that we can rely on. And that's one thing that is often, sometimes slept on in real estate, especially in the wholesaling industry. When we're looking at changes we need to make in our business or properties that we need to attack, I think thinking about Kent's approach a lot more is going to get us a lot further. Looking at the data in the neighborhood, looking at the data of the other properties, what's performing the highest, who's coming here, who wants this, what properties are being built here, what businesses are adding jobs, how many units are coming to the market, which zip code has the highest rents, right? Or which zip code will Section 8 and HUD pay out the highest rents, right? This level of data and maneuvering are things that's taking Kent to the next level. Bro, thank you for sharing that.
No problem, man. And I know you're running a wholesaling operation. So, I mean, just think about it. What have you had? And the reason this is so hard in real estate is because you have all this county data, and all the counties maintain this data very differently. But just imagine if all your data was actually in a good set, you can actually organize all this data and determine based on your campaigns, like, oh, here's all my pre-foreclosures, here's all my probate cases. And based off of like zip code, age of the customer, then you're able to realize like, okay, this is how we can calculate the lifetime value of these leads and prioritize them for all my cold callers, right? Now you're not just blinding blind calling, you actually know, like, I better go call this person first because their value is actually the highest. Now, we all have a semblance of how to prioritize these things or what a heart lead is, like, especially if you get a PPC inbound lead or something like that, right? But it's the same principle. The problem is no one wants to spend the time and effort to clean up all this data to actually get it to the stage, because then you can clean it up and boom. Now it's AI and machine learning stuff. That's really where it gets powerful, right? You have data scientists that's able to put this into our model, and then now you're able to see what the correlation is between all these data attributes, and boom, now you actually figure out how to prioritize and what those value of those leads are. So there's no more guessing, but someone's got to do it, and it probably isn't going to be me because that's not my interest. That's not my interest, but it's very possible. You can just apply it. It's actually not that hard. It's more of a manpower issue, and do you have enough manpower to do something like that? So very, very applicable to real estate.
Bro, that's incredible, bro. I love that. I love that, bro. So tell me, bro, can you expand more on what is your vision for helping with affordable housing, and where do things kind of go from here? Because we've seen where you came from, how you got into the industry. Where are you going, bro?
This is it. You and I and a bunch of other people, we're going to help thousands, if not millions of families, because my goal here is one. I talked to Alvin Hope Johnson a little bit over just this past week, and what he's solving for and the next level strategies that he's doing in his organization is using tax-exempt bonds, performance bonds to guarantee performance, but to do a lot of development work so that you can provide sort of affordable housing or workforce housing for that middle of the road America. When I asked him what his approach would be for solving the lower tranche of America, he's like, I don't have an answer for that. And that's when I realized, like, wow, I am on the right path here, because I want to attack this problem from both angles. We need to solve for the middle of the road America and the lower tranche of America, because everybody deserves an equal opportunity to let their children succeed, to thrive, to give them an opportunity to, one, get their education, grow up in a stable home, and ultimately pursue whatever their dreams might be when they grow up. So here's what we're doing. Right now, I'm teaming up with you, trying to acquire your single family homes, because that is the best opportunity to put good, deserving families, right? No drama, no drugs, no gangs. Provide them with a good home so that their kids can grow up in a stable home, so that they can grow up to be doctors, lawyers, whatever they want to be. Meanwhile, we should be learning from great people that have figured this out on how to develop affordable housing for the middle of the road America, which is like 70, or I think it was 60 to 120% of area median income, to provide workforce housing for those folks too, because they just need affordable housing just as much as we do, and they're contributing. They're a huge part of the workforce in America. Think about the social workers, your nonprofit employees. Like, think about the janitors at the American Red Cross or the Salvation Army. They need homes too, and they're in organizations that help people. So our mission is trying to help so many people that it's inevitable that they will pay it forward and help our kids, our grandkids, and our great-grandkids. We're not here anymore. And that is the only way we can feel at peace when our time comes. It's like we just help so many people that I know my family's going to be taken care of. At some point down the line, they will be taken care of. Because they say generational wealth only lasts about 3 generations. So I call this generational help, meaning you help so many people that they are going to pay it forward. They're going to help your kids when you're not here anymore. And God, it just gets me so jazzed. I want to think about this. But we got to attack this problem from all angles, because if this problem was being solved the right way and there was actually progress made towards it, there's no way that the wait list when I was in affordable housing was 7 years. And I went to San Diego Housing Commission the other day, the Housing Authority. They told me the housing wait list was 12 to 15 years. Imagine you just had a kid and you're living in the ghetto or the hood and you're trying to get out. 12 to 15 years, that's too late. Way too late.
Too late.
And I think this is one of the stories I share with you personally. And, you know, I grew up in a neighborhood where, you know, I was robbed across the street when I was in 7th grade, just across the street. I was jumped by 10 people randomly, because I was never affiliated with gangs, randomly at a train station, just because they were probably had to get initiated into a gang or something, so they'd ever jump somebody. I could have said, let me go become a cop. Let me put everybody in jail. But I wanted to solve this problem a different way. Let me create enough housing in good neighborhoods so that these folks don't have to be forced into that situation anymore, or even have those opportunities or decisions presented to them. That's a much, much better way of solving a problem because it carries forward to their kids and their grandkids too. I think that's the best way to solve this problem because sometimes these folks are just looking for community, and let's give them a better community to live in.
Wow, bro. That is true generational help right there. Like providing more in value than you receive in payment. I couldn't think of a better example. That's insane, bro. Helping the communities literally where you grew up, but also that added a lot of trauma into your life and thinking, how can I help people? Wow, bro. That is incredible. That is incredible.
But I know this is hard, man. Like, what might this require of people? It might require people to take a couple of percentages less on the cash and cash return. Like I know this is a big ask. And this is why it's so hard because everything requires money. But this is why I got to find people. And this is why we do this podcast. It's like we got to share the world with the world, share this vision with the world so that they know what we're trying to achieve. And the people that are attracted to this mission, they will reach out to you now. Like I started in short-term rentals. I helped a lot of people with short-term rentals, but I finally decided that I just need to become the affordable housing guy. That's it. Like I find way more passion, way more joy in pursuing this mission, even though it's hard. But when I'm able to focus on it, that helps a lot. So this is why like I'm helping people like one, make money in short-term rentals, show them how I would analyze them. But then really I'm trying to help them make as much money as possible so that they would have in turn have a little bit of money left over to invest in affordable housing, right? How do you create investment interest in there? You have to create almost sort of extra buffer or room in someone's pocketbook so that they're like, okay, I make enough money here, maybe I can invest in there. You got to give people options, right? Because everybody's looking out for their families. Everybody has their, financial fiduciary duty to be responsible for their families, put their kids into good schools. So if I help solve that problem first, then the scarcity disappears, and now they're willing to invest in affordable housing. Just like with working with you, who knows? Maybe you're taking a lower assignment fee to do one of these houses with me, right? You might be cherry picking, like, okay, I know this home is in a lower crime, good school area. I might be losing $5,000, whatever that assignment may be, a couple $1,000s, but I know this house will be used to put a good family in there, and their kids are going to grow up and they're going to thrive. They're going to become amazing human beings because now they're growing up in a positive environment around other affluent families. So they have other role models to look up to. Maybe they're growing up around another doctor. Maybe they're growing up around another nurse professional. But that's going to influence them to become a helper, a medical professional, whatever that might be, so that they don't have to make the same choices of saying, I can't be a doctor because I don't want to put my family through the medical school. That they shouldn't be faced with that choice.
Bro, that is, dude, I'm getting so like hyped up right now. And there's another thing that I want to highlight for everyone here, because you know how it is, bro. When you grow up in low income housing, when you grow up in those environments for a lot of your life, a lot of people in those environments can oftentimes have a scarcity mindset, almost like a crabs in a barrel. I hate using that term, but that's literally the mindset. I can't win if they don't lose. If I win, I can't show them how I won because then they're going to take what I have or bad things will happen to me. That is literally a fear of success. And our mentor, Pace Morby, one time a few years back called it out on me. He was like, you can't have a fear of success. And it's so true, because when you're out here and you're showing other people how you can reveal their light, how you can literally lift them up and let their light shine, by showing people how they're going to make so much money in Airbnb, you're literally lifting people up and letting their light shine. Like, that is amazing. By sharing this knowledge, partying into these communities, like, you're making an incredible impact. And I just want to really emphasize that, because those efforts, that true value providing more than you're receiving in compensation, is what really changes not only your life, but the community around you. Because other people are going to watch that and just be like, wow, he is giving and he's not like, what? Are you kidding me? He just showed him how to make 10 grand a month from an Airbnb. Are you kidding me? Like, everyone's going to be dedicated towards helping you lift your vision even more, bro. I just wanted to highlight that. Wow. Sheesh.
And this is why you got to give without any expectation of return, right? Like when I got on the phone with you, I'm like, Olu, I want you to seriously, no, I'm in this to help people. The first house, you keep it. I don't care because I want to show you I'm in this for real. Just like with Airbnb stuff, I show people how to analyze duties. I mean, analyze properties. When I first told my father like what I was doing, he's like, okay, you shouldn't tell that many people what you're doing. Like, you should keep this to yourself. And I had to remind him, like, no, Dad, this is exactly why I share with people. Because one, then people actually gravitate towards you, but then you're also helping people at the same time. And ultimately you'll get it back at some point. And he's like, oh, that's a really good perspective. So coming from that scarcity mindset, if you're always around a scarcity mindset, it just reinforces it. But you just need someone to snap you out of it. And then you're like, oh, wow, that makes a lot of sense. My dad was a perfect example. He told me to keep it to myself. And I was like, no, Dad, I'm gonna share this with everybody. I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
why would I keep this to myself? I can help so many people like this. And then he understood it. So this is why even when we're creating all these buildings of affordable housing, you got to have a mix. So you have other folks, other perspectives to lift up the entire community, to help them think differently so that they don't have the same echo chamber of helping themselves. I mean, or only thinking for themselves, right? This is what's so cool about what we're about to do, man. Like, this is so invigorating and so exciting to know the impact that we're going to have, the countless impact. You won't even know who you helped eventually at some point, because that family is going to trickle down. And that is so cool, man. That gets me so excited. That gets me out of bed every day. This is why I wake up early to get on these podcasts with you, so we can have these amazing conversations, man. This is what life is about, I think. And this is a life worth living. Like, that is absolutely it. When I go back, when my time comes, I'm gonna look back and be like, we helped so many people. Olu and I, we were of the same mindset. We just want to help people that had similar upbringings as us and give them different opportunity, because the next generation will now know so much more. This is why I started the podcast for affordable housing and real estate investing. It's to show people what puzzles have we gathered so far. Even if we don't solve affordable housing in our lifetime, you get to pass those pieces of the puzzle to the next generation, and then they can take and run with it, because then you already gathered so many pieces of the puzzle already. No matter what, you're contributing to the future generation, and that is so cool. I absolutely love it, because I just sent you some next level strategy, and someone like Alvin Hope Johnson spent like 12 years trying to figure that out. He just came on and shared that with the world and said, you know what, here's what I did for the past 12 years of my life. This is what I figured out. This works. You guys take on it and run with it, because he's solving for this for one area. We can take what he has done and be like, wow, he just accelerated our timeline by about 12 years. And now we can keep inching towards the problem. People just refuse. People are so caught up with instant gratification that they forget to just count those small wins, because those small wins just adds up so fast. So fast. And that's cool.
Oh my God, bro. This is gonna, we got to do another one of these, bro. I got to have you on again. But one last thing that I got to highlight, because you keep dropping these gems, dude. In there, you said instant gratification, right? A lot of times what happens with people like you, people like Alvin Hope Johnson, who are giving this much value out, they're giving all this value away, right? Sometimes, and I'm saying this message to a past self of mine, I'm saying this message to someone who wants to be a part of a journey like this and wants to find out how they can jump in, how they can squat up with people like us, Kent, Alvin Hope Johnson, other people who are doing other amazing things. And it's getting away from instant gratification as much as possible. And one of the most part of instant gratification that holds people back a lot is a sense of entitlement. So they see people like you who are literally giving away game, giving away everything that they've done to succeed. Alvin Hope Johnson, they see people like him giving it away, and they approach these people with a sense of entitlement. Hey, where's mine? But instead, I encourage you guys, encourage even everyone, your future self, my past self, approach people with the sense of, hey, what can I do for you? What value can I add for you? Because if you guys listen to this episode, that is what Kent has done from the very beginning. He's provided more in value than he received in payment. And even when he's on the phone with people like Alvin Hope Johnson, there's no sense of entitlement. It's just, wow, this is amazing. How can I take what you've done and give it to more people? Bro, I'm inspired.
Dude, and you and I talk about, we're like, why is there not a book on this? Right? Like, why is there not a book on this?
Yeah.
And I think maybe we help coordinate and drive the efforts towards sharing that knowledge with people, whether it's a book, whether it's just through podcasting. But this is just knowledge that everyone needs to know about. And there's so many people that I've talked to about Section 8 or low income housing, and they were like, "Oh, okay, so the chances of trashing the home is a lot higher, right?" And I
No.
pretty much carry that knowledge for and be like, "No, let me tell you about this guy I met on my podcast. He's done a survey with 400 landlords and property management companies. 24% of cash tenants trash the home compared to 4% of Section 8 voucher holders trash the home. Boom. Here's some numbers for you. That stigma is not true. That stigma is probably spread through some propaganda or just one bad story that carries on in news, and it can kind of just carries forward, and it becomes like this tribal theory, or just like the rumor mill just spreads like wildfire sometimes. But that's not true. A lot of people, just like your family and my family, are just good people trying to make it, trying to put food on the table, and trying to make sure that they're taking care of the kids so that they can continue, so that their kids can thrive, because they put everything in their kids, man. And I think that is why we all do this. That's it. So this has been an awesome conversation, Olu. Like I would be more than happy to kind of come back onto the show and have another conversation with you, because it's rare for us to find other individuals that are so deeply rooted in this mission that we can relate to so well. Like I can't tell you, like sometimes I've been to open houses where I pitched this creative financing thing so I could put people in affordable housing. They're like, well, if you really want to help them, you should just go tell them to buy their own property. And I was like, that's not how it works. But I'm not.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. You don't understand the grind that they're going through just to put food on the table. How can they ever get ahead if no one ever helps them get ahead? Like that. It's just, you're in a different loop when you're coming from that background. So I'm not mad at that person, but it showed me how much education there needs to be, and sometimes awareness is the first step to solving this problem. Just trying to create awareness that there are a lot of great people in this world who deserves that chance. And if anyone out there listening right now is willing to just offer even one home of theirs in their portfolio to an affordable housing family, like that's one less family on a wait list. That's it. Everyone just gets to contribute a little bit, and we can make a huge dent in this. Imagine how many more doctors and lawyers and good social workers out there we will have just from people paying it forward. That's it.
1000%.
I love it.
Bro, thank you so much, Ken, for coming on here today and just sharing this knowledge, sharing your vision, bro. I think you just even sharing this with the audience is going to change some lives, bro. So I am inspired by you living in your purpose, by you adding the value that you do. I'm not going to hold you here, man. I know you and the fam are going to the zoo. That's going to be so fun, man. It's going to be so fun. Thank you so much, brother. Everyone, where can people find you, Ken? How can they follow you on social media? How can they keep up with the journey? Where do they find you, brother?
Absolutely. They can find my podcast on Apple Podcasts right now. It's called Affordable Housing and Real Estate Investing. No fancy name. I wanted to get straight to the point that this podcast is about affordable housing and real estate investing. You can find me on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Kent_he. That's HE, just like the pronoun. And then you can also find me on Instagram @InvestWithKentHe. So follow me for more affordable housing related content, but then I can also share a bunch of other stuff, and feel free to DM me if you guys have any questions. I'm so glad, I'm so blessed to have this conversation with you, Olu, man. I'm really looking forward to working together. God, I'm so excited, bro. So excited. Thank you so much.
Thank you, bro. Impact. Let's go.
Let's go.
All right, brother. Good talking with you, my guy.
Thank you.